On his drive-thru podcast, Jim Cornette talked about Ronda Rousey after she lost the SmackDown Women's title to Charlotte Flair, saying if Ronda Rousey did not have the name and reputation that she had from the MMA world or UFC, she wouldn't be on television. There's Charlotte's a star, and then there's Ronda. Hopefully, is this the end of the Rousey experiment? Ronda Rousey wanted to be a wrestler until she got a little taste of it. She wasn't even a full-time wrestler the first run, okay? Then she goes to have kids and raise goats, and I'm not even kidding, folks, look it up. Rousey recently mentioned going after the women's tag title with Shayna Baszler, so she is more than likely sticking around in WWE. With Vince McMahon returning to the WWE Board of Directors, MVP seemingly made reference to this in a tweet, writing, "Professional wrestling evolves, just like everything else. I don't like pineapple pizza. No Italian ever dreamed of putting pineapple on a pizza, but some fool did it and millions of people love it. I don't think the pizza is ruined, I just don't enjoy it as much." Fellow pro wrestler and husband of Tessa Blanchard, Daga, would post an interesting tweet but ended up deleting it as it reads, "Cheating is the most disgusting, hurtful, and disrespectful thing you could do to someone you say you love." With WWE possibly being purchased in the future, AEW champion MJF, who has hinted many times at a move to WWE in 2024, said this about corporations that could make that transaction. "I feel like I don't talk enough about how much I love Comcast, NBC Universal, Fox, Disney, Warner Brothers Discovery, Netflix, Amazon, Endeavor Group Holdings, and Liberty Media." Talking to Metro, Saraya revealed that Triple H would give her the opportunity to wrestle in WWE, saying, "Man, I do love Hunter. He's so fantastic." He was like, "Wait, what happened?" I was like, "I don't know. They haven't renewed my contract." He was like, "Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't know that, so I'm sorry." He was really fantastic. He did give me the opportunity to potentially be a GM again, and give me the opportunity to be like, if you ever potentially want to wrestle again, I'll give you that opportunity too. He was very open about any ideas that I had. Speaking about why Mercedes money did not get much of a reaction out of the New Japan fans at Wrestle Kingdom, it was said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that after Kairi beat Nakano in a short match to retain the title, she came out. The reaction wasn't big. Those there live in attendance said that most fans did not know who she was, since WWE has had no television in Japan for a long time. On his Strictly Business podcast, Eric Bischoff mentioned that he believes CM Punk will get his contract bought out by AEW. When asked if Punk not coming back to AEW was a positive or negative thing, he said, "Part of me jokes around about busting Phillips' balls because I'm not impressed with him. I think he was overhyped, and when I say that, look, I understand he came to AEW with a massive amount of mystique, and there was a build-up, and he did a good job of maintaining that mystique, but he lost me in his first promo. I mean, he showed his ass in such an obvious way to me in his very first promo when he went out there and buried Hulk Hogan. Now, I'm not saying that because I'm friends of Hulk Hogan. I'm saying that because Philip has never worked with Hulk Hogan. Philip doesn't know Hulk Hogan, and what Philip was doing was Philip was trying to get himself over with the dirt sheet community, mostly Meltzer's fan base, by burying someone that Meltzer has been burying for 25 or 30 years in order to get himself over. And what that does to me, if you're playing poker with somebody like that, that's a tell. That tells me this dude does not know how to get himself over without relying on cheap, easy heat, and that's what that comment was. And I think when you come out as a professional at that level and you're relying on cheap, easy heat, regardless whether it's Hulk Hogan or any other any other big name here that you don't know and you've never worked with, I think that's a tell. And the minute that happened, I went, this guy is not everything he's cracked up to be, because if he was, he wouldn't have to do that, and it all went downhill from there. But let me just say this, I don't know what went on behind the scenes with the Elite and the backstage drama conspiracy theories. I'm not discounting it. I'm not discounting that Philip has a bit I'm not discounting that perhaps Philip was justified in being really pissed off. I still don't think he should have done what he did at the press conference. That should have been a conversation that Philip had with Tony Khan offline privately, one-on-one, maybe with an attorney present, that it could have been productive as opposed to going out there and again showing your ass, burying the guy that's writing your checks, burying your entire locker room, the roster that you have to work with. Again, that's a tell. It's a big tell. I do believe that there might have been some fire behind all that smoke and why he was upset, and if you have that kind of drama going on backstage, whether it's 10% real, of 80% real, whatever it is, one of us will probably never know unless you were involved. It's just unhealthy for everyone. Nobody's going to come out of it good. Everybody's going to come out of it dinged, and I think it will be better for everybody just to go their separate ways. Talk about Nick Khan helping Vince McMahon to sell WWE. Conrad Thompson revealed on What Happened When that I've been saying on this program for a while that WWE was going to sell. Do you know why I said that? Because I knew. You know how I knew? Remember when Nick Khan first joined WWE? Well, he joined and he was, of course, an agent. You've heard of like UTA and CAA and WME, all these big Hollywood agencies. He was a guy who was helping to negotiate contracts and make deals and things like that. I happen to have some friends who needed representation like that, we'll say that. My friend was represented by the same company that Nick Khan was sort of running, and when my friend sees that the guy who runs this big agency is now going to WWE, he thought, what the? This doesn't make any sense. So he called his contact and said, dude, what's up with Nick going blah blah blah? He said, and this is years ago, yeah, he's got a deal with Vince where in his contract he gets a big payday when he helps facilitate the sale. He told me the number, and I won't say the number because that's talking about somebody's money and that's not cool. But let's just say this. It's more than AEW's TV contract is for a year. It's a lot. It's a lot. So when you hear it's a lot, you think, well, why would this guy go here? Aha. And now, ta-da. I've heard back channeling before Mean Gene passed away. He said, well, I heard from, and I won't say who he heard it from, when the stock gets to so-and-so, this has been brewing for a while. I know a lot of wrestling fans have been thinking, well, this is just a brand new development. It's years old. Revealing that he's had his final run in pro wrestling, Tully Blanchard told the Two-Man Power Trip podcast, I'm no longer with AEW or Ring of Honor or any subsidiaries thereof. That sounded pretty legal, didn't it? I would imagine that my wrestling career is probably over other than doing autograph shows and things like we did in Nashville. I don't know how many retirement matches, last matches, Flair can have. Asked if his AEW deal had simply expired, Blanchard replied, no, it was a little more complex than that, but my contract is up and I'm gone. With Xavier Woods not wrestling since December 27th and being attacked backstage on NXT, it seems one half of the tag champions is out of action. As it was reported, PWInsider.com has told Xavier Woods is banged up and not yet 100% cleared, which is why New Day hasn't been seen more inside the ring. The expectation internally is that he should be good to go by Royal Rumble, if not sooner. Woods worked in Kofi Kingston's corner at last night's live event in Huntsville, Alabama. Touching on WWE's upcoming plans for Edge, Fightful reported Edge hasn't officially returned to WWE since his latest absence started, but the company already had some plans in order for him months ago. Fightful Select has learned that as of late November, WWE had Edge penciled in for the first couple of PLE events of the year. As Fightful Select had reported on a Q&A show upon his hiatus, the working plan was for Edge to take on Finn Balor upon his return to pick up their long-running feud, with WrestlingNews.co reporting that they'd be competing at Royal Rumble. Edge's limited dates was a factor in the rivalry being spread out. We can also confirm WrestlingNews.co's report that as of that point, ahead of Survivor Series, it was scheduled to be a Hell in a Cell match. However, it's not just Edge that was planned for the Elimination Chamber PLE in February. Again, as of November, the tentative plan was for Edge's wife, Beth Phoenix, to be involved in the Montreal event, teaming with Edge to take on Rhea Ripley and Finn Balor. It's worth noting that several of the plans that were on the books have been moved up, scrapped, or changed, which can always happen, and these matches can't be considered official until WWE officially announces it themselves. When asked if she feels wronged by WWE for being fired due to her adult content on Fan Time, Mandy Rose told Tamron Hall, "Because of everything that's happened since then, honestly, everything happens for a reason. And I can't even say I was wronged because I am so forever grateful for everything that the WWE has presented me with. So I can't sit here and say I was wronged or not. I'm hurt, 100%. Yes, I'm hurt. I'm very hurt. No one wants to get that call that you're being fired from any job, right? So I was very hurt and very disappointed. I was disappointed so much because everything I put into the business, but just the last year and a half, I was champion for 413 days. I unified those two titles that we just saw. I was the third longest reigning NXT Women's Champion. I also created this must-see faction with two other women that I really brought up. And I got to see so many women develop their characters, and they're all a lot younger than me and in the beginning of their careers. And to me, that was so important because it was so rewarding for me. So losing the title was obviously a gut punch. But at the end of the day, my purpose was gone. And that's where I felt lost, and I felt confused. Driving home from that, a lot of things were going through my mind. You always think there's a lot of unanswered questions and all that. Asked about a potential return to WWE, Rose replied, "Never say never," while noting that a conversation would have to take place about taking down her adult content. Opening up on wanting to wrestle once more following his retirement match last summer, Ric Flair said on his podcast, "I'm begging to do it again. I'm begging because I've told 100 people. How do I forget to drink water all day long? That's all that happened to me. You saw me. I drank 5 beers right after. I can think of a lot of things I've screwed up in matches and, things you would change. I just know that could have been golden. I just happened to be dehydrated. I don't know how I could have made that mistake because you know how much work I put in with Lethal. We had everything figured out. I mean, we had so much more to do. God, it would have been great." As WWE have re-signed yet another star, it seems that Chelsea Green did so a while ago, with it reported that, although she hasn't popped back up in WWE as of yet, Fightful is told that not only is Chelsea Green signed to WWE, she has been for quite some time and is still awaiting creative. We've asked her to confirm personally a number of times, but that won't happen for obvious reasons. Green shut down her OnlyFans page recently, and Major Pot had to limit the production of new Chelsea Green merchandise as a result of her signing. With Randy Orton liking a tweet yesterday, which reads, "Just a friendly reminder that top athletes dropping dead was not a common occurrence before the introduction of COVID-19 mRNA. Many users on Twitter have reacted to this writing. He should have already been canceled. Man, the side headlock master being anti-vax is a shocker, especially since he is an expert on using needles." Randy Orton really had to like that tweet. Bro, it's not deep. Agree or disagree. It's no one but his business. Get on with your life. This guy thinks we gon' cancel Randy Orton because he likes to tweet about a vaccine. Go take a back seat, you mug. Today ain't the day. Talking about when Vince McMahon began working on WWE's deal to be sold to Saudi Arabia, Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio, "One thing that we do know is that ever since Vince was ousted, he did open up talks with the Saudis. I mean, this didn't come in the last week. His coming back was obviously to close the deal that perhaps the people who were running the company, for all the reasons we were talking about, probably felt very uneasy about the deal closing because they are perhaps looking out for the long-term future of their company and their own asses too. So that's another layer. Obviously, the people on the board, Nick Khan and Triple H, who voted one way before to keep Vince McMahon out of the board of directors, and they voted another way today. While there have been reports of a sale to Saudi Arabia being agreed to in principle, it seems the creative team is in the dark on this. As Fightful noted, people on the writing team and in production have not been informed of a sale. Going back to Wrestling Observer Radio, this was said about WWE employees losing their jobs over the potential Saudi deal going through. WWE without the rights fees is not worth anything close to what they're getting. But there's no maybe. Vince is sure he's got his connections there. Maybe he's already talked to people at Fox and at NBCU, and they've assured him that he's okay. I don't see them canceling him right now. It's a very problematic company at this point. There's going to be jobs lost. In a major update on talks of a sale for WWE, Ariel Helwani took to Twitter to write, contrary to reports stating otherwise last night, there is no deal in place at this precise moment for WWE to be sold to Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund or any entity, sources say. The organization is still exploring all options, I'm told, developing. Worth noting that the original tweet stating it was a done deal has since been deleted. Given all the talk of Vince McMahon returning to sell WWE this year, PW Insider noted that those that own AEW could afford WWE. First, if Vince is selling for many billions of dollars, he gives up power over how WWE would be used going forward. At least he should in any deal done by a competent lawyer. In exchange for money, he gives up control of the legacy. He can hope it carries on, but once he sells, he gives up complete control unless he finds a rube to buy it. I am sure that the Khans could put together the money to buy it if they wanted to, but it will be very expensive, and as mentioned above, if the TV rights deals change for the worse, it's a bad investment. WWE's revenue has become very, very dependent on rights fees. On the Buzzcast podcast, Matthew Bellany touched on the possibility of Endeavor, who owns the UFC, making the move to purchase WWE. As much as it's a valuable media property, it is still considered a second-tier property in the sense that there are advertisers that still will not advertise on WWE. There is a little bit of a radioactivity around it, much as there was with the UFC. When it comes to a potential buyer for WWE, it appears The Rock is not likely to be one. As PW Insider reported, he would need a lot of partners and or financing, and honestly, I don't think he would want to make the move. As mentioned above, the lion's share of WWE's revenue comes from TV rights. If the market changes drastically and the partners change what they are willing to pay for WWE, the company's value changes drastically. Since it will cost billions to buy WWE, that kind of downturn could be catastrophic for a non-content providing investor. With all the rumors of a potential sale of WWE to Saudi Arabia, this has some worried about what could come of this, as Fightful reported. A prevailing fear is that Vince McMahon will try to work his way back into creative with a sale, and Saudis being the only entity that would possibly allow that to happen. In another update on Saudi Arabia potentially buying WWE, the Wrestling Observer noted that they're not sold. Saudi Arabia is in the hunt. They're one of the companies, one of the places that's looking for it. Several media companies, the names are out there, are all in the hunt. It would be added that they're looking to sell by the middle of the year. JP Morgan is helping them. Saudi would be the one where they would actually, I think you see only one key people as far as the thing that they want to go private. That would be the one. The other ones are all public companies. Endeavor obviously is also in the hunt. There is definitely smoke to the Saudi Arabia story, but it's too early for the deal to be finalized. When it comes to how much the son of WWE Chairman Vince McMahon made, it was noted in the company's SEC filings that in 2022, Shane McMahon was retained as an independent contract performer by the company and received an aggregate of approximately $828,000 in connection with such services. Speaking of Mercedes, she's apparently attracted heat from New Japan as she is set to challenge Kairi Sane for the IWGP Women's title. Dave Meltzer reported there were people talking because of the belief Money has been promoting Sendai Girls and Tokyo Joshi Pro more than Stardom and the IWG Women's title. She posted photos from the Sendai Girls dojo saying she wanted to wrestle women that work for that promotion and Tokyo Joshi Pro. The feeling is that now that she's with Bushi Road, she should be only promoting Bushi Road companies in Japan. When she was in Japan, she didn't go to any Stardom events nor go to the dojo. I don't know that anyone expected her to. Talk about rival companies and going to the Sendai Girls dojo, it's the company owned by Satomura and it's just Japanese business, and it's very likely nobody has ever explained that mentality to her. In fact, I doubt they will, because the big numbers for the Tokyo Dome show, while largely attributed to Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, she likely helped as well, even though not advertised ahead of time as the word was out.
Touching on the feelings of those in WWE regarding reports of a potential sale of the company to Saudi Arabia, Meltzer noted, the rumors were all over wrestling and led to a ton of concern among WWE talent hearing them. This included those working the live television tapings for NXT, where the mood was said to be very depressing as word got around during the actual filming of the show, with the belief by many the story was true. With Stephanie McMahon recently resigning as chairwoman and co-CEO of WWE, the Wrestling Observer went into detail on this, saying, as far as Stephanie McMahon goes, last year she took a leave of absence from the company. While it was her decision, there were those in the company who did bury her on the way out and said she wasn't good at her job as chief brand officer. They also put out a story that she was forced out by Vince, although those close to her knew that wasn't the case, since she had talked about leaving for some time, dating back to shortly after Levesque suffered a near-fatal heart issue, and it was said that she was reevaluating her life. But the belief when she left the first time was that she would come back, and when leaving, retained her position on the board of directors. While not her position name, but as far as the bulk of her work, her position was filled quickly, and word was that if or when she would come back, it would be in a different role. Her leaving after assuring employees she was staying in the company saying the same raises red flags. Those close to the situation in WWE tried to present her decision to leave as being related to the decision last year, that after Levesque's heart situation, she reevaluated her life, wanted to raise her 3 daughters, and was wealthy enough that money will never be a concern. But she came back when Vince was in trouble. But that doesn't explain why this was a resignation, and she left the board and cut all ties with the company she has worked for since she was a teenager. It was also conceded that she and Vince did have issues in working together as family members, and Khan was a buffer who kept things smooth between them as well as between Vince and Levesque. Taking to Twitter, Stephanie McMahon gave an update on her health as she wrote, "Busy week. Thank you Dr. Waldrop, Andrew Sportsmed, and the Orthopedic Center staff for fixing my ankle, and to Kevin Wilk for already getting me started at rehab, and of course, to my amazing caregiver Triple H, #Road to Recovery." While many see Fox and parent company Disney as a potential buyer for WWE, it appears money is going to be lost on the current deal they have, as the Wrestling Observer wrote. SmackDown winning Friday for Fox most weeks makes WWE more valuable to other networks. But at the same time, even in winning the night, SmackDown still fetches the lowest ad rates of any Friday night network primetime show at $47,000 per minute. Morgan Stanley did an analysis for Fox on SmackDown and felt they couldn't justify the price tag for the show. In the 2020 to 2021 television season, Fox paid $196.7 million on the show and ended up with $134 million in losses. In 2021 to 22, Fox paid $208.5 million and ended up with $145 million in losses. The conclusion is that there simply are not enough wrestling fans to justify the kind of money Fox spent on the show, and that the number of viewers is not likely to change over the next 2 years. They estimate the losses will only get worse, with a projection of $155.6 million in losses for the 2022 to 23 season and $166.9 million for the 2023 to 24 season. Fox's deal is $221.1 million for the payment to WWE for SmackDown in 2022 to 23 and $234.3 million in 2023 to 24. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.